I'm Mark Allen, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. This is Mr. Saltwater Tank, RUF, raw, uncut, first impressions, the show where I call it as I see it with products that I haven't seen before. Today we're taking a look at the MarcoRocks Powder. Powder for what? Well, it's not a supplement. This is a powder that's used to hide the adhesives on the joints of your aquascape. So if you're using epoxy, super glue, or like the Marco e-cement, you can put this powder on that adhesive, it's going to stick to it, and you won't see that adhesive. Now, full disclosure, I've seen this product before in its final state. I covered it in some of our trade show coverage, but I haven't used the product, which is part of what I'm going to do in today's show. I'm actually going to build some aquascape with some MarcoRocks and use the powder and see what kind of results that I get. See how easy it is to use. Okay, that being said, I've seen it before. What are my thoughts so far? A couple things. Number one, most people probably don't use adhesives with their aquascape, but with the trend of getting more wild type of aquascapes with big overhangs and arches, using adhesives is going to be and is becoming more common, so wanting to hide that adhesive makes more sense. So there's definitely a niche market here that MarcoRocks is trying to jump on. Now, I personally don't use adhesives in my aquascape, so while I wouldn't use it, I'm not going to ding the product just because it doesn't apply to me. Some of you this makes a lot of sense for, so I'm talking to you when I'm looking at this product. Okay, second of all, this is 20 bucks for this jar. There's tons of powder in this thing. You're very likely not going to use it all. You can easily share it with friends. If you have a local reef club, you could buy a jar for club members and use it. There's plenty to go around in this jar. Another thought I have about this is if you're using epoxy as an adhesive, this stuff probably isn't going to stick to epoxy, depending on what kind of epoxy you use. Some of them are not very sticky, so putting the powder on them might not work. Now, if that's the case, put some super glue on top of that epoxy. This stuff will stick just fine, or some of that Marco cement. If you're using super glue, like I'm going to do in the aquascape that I'm going to build when I use this stuff will stick really well to the aquascape. That being said, you want to move quickly with this. Super glue can dry. This stuff isn't going to stick to super glue once it's done its thing. Also, you're not going to use this stuff once your tank is up and running. I don't know how you would apply it underwater, so this is really a before you're scaping your tank or before you get your tank wet as you're building your aquascape. I've got some super glue, I've got 2 MarcoRocks, and then I've got the powder. So, we're going to super glue these two together. We'll take a look at what the joint looks like naked or plain, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to add some powder to it, because remember, you got to do it when it's wet or damp. You're not going to do this after the fact. Simply add your adhesive and then stick your rocks together. Make sure you add enough, which will come into play later in this video. You can never add enough adhesive, so why not add some more? Once you got things set, add the MarcoRocks powder by simply sprinkling it on or dumping it on, and then let's see how this thing looks. There's the finished product. You cannot see the seam, so long as you don't get excited and try to move things and then the seam falls apart because the adhesive has not set up like you see here. I moved the aquascape and it fell apart because the super glue had not set up. This exposes the super glue. You got to add more, but hey, not a problem. You got plenty of MarcoRocks powder. Simply dust it back on and hide that joint. But here's a good look at a naked joint and then a joint with MarcoRocks powder. The powder really blends that joint in well for those of you that really want to go that extra mile with your aquascape or really hate seeing that adhesive in your aquascape. Now that I've used the MarcoRocks powder to build a bitchin' aquascape, what's my thoughts on it? Super easy to use. Just dust it on, you can dump it on, you can use your fingers. If you really want to be artsy-fartsy, you can like scoop it on and build some texture to it, but there's really not much to this product. Just keep in mind whatever your adhesive you're putting it on, that adhesive has to be sticky. Then just leave it alone. And then if you want more of this, simply add some more super glue or more adhesive. You can put on some more powder and you're done. Like, you really can't mess this up other than not adding enough. Another thought I'm having, another use of this is if you 3D print something with a saltwater safe filament, you can then put some kind of adhesive on that 3D print and then put some of the powder on it to make it look more natural, make it look like it's something out of stone, not something that you 3D printed. So lots of uses of this. You've got plenty in the jar. share it with your friends, make some new reef buddies, say, hey man, I got some powder. And they'll be like, what? Be like, yeah, I got MarcoRocks powder. I'm gonna make your aquascape look better. They'll probably be very much into it. So there you go. There's the MarcoRocks powder, niche market for this thing. Thoughts, props for being creative with this MarcoRocks. I don't know when I'm gonna use it all, but I'll keep this jar around. As I find more unique ideas and places that I can use this thing, I'll certainly update you. Until next time, I'm Mark Callen, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. This has been Mr. Saltwater Tank, RUF, Raw Uncut, First Impressions. I'll catch you in the next episode.